Hey guys, this is the first video for chapter 3 in week 2. This video will probably be relatively short, but later in the chapter I'll do one that'll actually be a little longer than normal, so hang with me with that one. So first of all, chapter 3 is the fundamentals of organizational structure, and it starts off giving some examples of how organizations change their structure in order to become more successful. And I just pulled a couple out to talk about some of the highlights. The first one is Nissan. The CEO Carlos Ghosn, if I'm saying his name correctly, brought Nissan back from bankruptcy, and I think it was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look back and see if that's correct, but so Nissan went from having one chief operating officer that was overseeing international opportunities and investments to three different vice presidents that were overseeing planning and execution. So they went a little bit more horizontal than they were. They had that one very centralized person in control of kind of too much, and so then they moved to having three vice presidents overseeing planning and execution, with Carlos Ghosn when he becomes CEO. And then they were more teams based and collaborative. And this had implications for many aspects of their operation, like their organizational structure, their organizational culture, their effectiveness. They had more experts in a variety of areas, which meant that they had more expertise going into the decision making so that the decisions could be good decisions, etc. So that was how Nissan decentralized, and kind of made their structure a little bit more horizontal. That'll all make more sense as we go through this chapter. And then the other one I thought was interesting was Jeff Bezos with Amazon. And, love him or hate the guy. I know he's not everybody's favorite guy. But he created something at Amazon called Two Pizza Teams. And I kind of liked this. So he structured Amazon so that they were very teams based. And the teams were 10 people or fewer, so that if they had to stay late, then they could feed everybody with two pizzas. That's how they determined how big of a team they needed to have. And that way they had enough people on that team that a variety of expertise was available to collaborate, and a variety of different backgrounds going into the projects, but not so big that everyone didn't have a seat at the table, not so big that many voices wouldn't be heard. So kind of the right number of people for a team so that everybody was able to contribute. So those are some kind of interesting examples that the chapter talked about. So then we're going to just get into what organizational structure is, and look at some components of organizational structure. And certainly you've all talked about this in other classes by now, I'm sure, but the organizational structure isn't something you actually see in an organization. It's reflected in the organizational chart. And so it's kind of an abstract reality, so to speak. So number one, it designates formal reporting relationships, so who reports to whom within the organization. The number of levels of hierarchy. So as we go through this chapter, we'll be talking about very vertical organizations and very horizontal organizations and kind of everything in between. So it designates how many levels is the organization going to have vertically. And then the span of control that the managers or supervisors would have. And that's reflected on the chart by showing, which departments they oversee, so that you can see what their span of control is over. Is it over the marketing department? Is it over, the Asian division or whatever? So then they identify grouping together of individuals into departments. And so we're going to talk about different types of structures where they group employees together based on either like the functional business unit, like marketing, accounting, manufacturing, research and development. Are employees grouped together based on those things, or are they grouped together based on the product that's being produced or the service that's being provided, or are they being grouped together based on the geographical area that they serve? Sometimes that's just, which part of the country, and sometimes it's which country or which region of the world. So how you're grouping together the individuals into departments, that's shown on the organizational chart. And then it includes the design of systems that ensure effective communication, coordination, and integration of efforts across departments. So we're going to talk about that again with the difference between vertical and horizontal organizational structures. The horizontal organizational structures being the ones that ensure that collaboration, that provide more access among departments, access to other employees for the reason of collaboration, for the reason of accessing their expertise in certain areas, and so forth. So that is it for chapter 1, video 1 in chapter 3, just kind of a little intro into the components of organizational structure. And with the next video, we will look at information sharing perspectives on structures. We'll see you then.